Yeah, great.
Good.
All right, we just got paid.
Good. Well, this is not one of those where we have to wait for the room to fill up. This is I think it's at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock it is. So I'm going to say welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cashflow Round Table. We are here to help everyone get financially literate. We're going to spread the information through education. I hope that you take this education and apply it to your life so that you can become free financially and actually gain time freedom. I am your host, Ms. Verna Monsanto, V Monsanto, and my co-host, Mr.
Brian Woods, now on the Power Move 06. Hey, how y'all doing out there today?
We're doing great. We're doing great, Brian. We're here, like I said, to introduce you guys to information that was not taught to us in schools. It is out here though, and we are in that information age where this knowledge is out here for us to get. And there are people out here who has taken that information, applied it to their life, and have seen significant results to the point where they're free financially, and their time is free also. So they're able to wake up when they want and go to sleep when they want. Brian, when I brought this platform to you, what did you think? Or where in your mind did you see something like this going on? Why did you say, yeah, I want to do this with you?
Well, for me, I felt like, when you brought this to the table, it was to give people more insight that even though they're going through their everyday lives, and a lot of people going through their different careers and their different backgrounds, that there is an actual proven thing that can help people stop living paycheck to paycheck and change their mindset on how they look at finances and money, because a lot of our actual attributes to money, it was not even our own attributes of how we looked at money. A lot of us, our attributes to money is based off of the person that we respected financially, whether it was that grandmother, that cousin, or that uncle that was doing well financially. But in reality, a lot of people did things off of circumstances. So we wanted to bring forth this actual round table, cash for the round table today, to give people insight on how people gain their financial freedom with what they did in order for them to stop living that rat race of living paycheck to paycheck, and them having the knowledge on what to do in order for them to create generational wealth. So that's why we kind of brought it to the table. That's what was my thought process when we brought it to the table. So I was like, man, I'm saying, well, I'm definitely on board, because education, specific education, is what people need in order for them to stop that rat race. Because, the workforce itself, right? It was never really set up for the average person to come out on top. It was set up for them to continue running that rat race, basically until they pass, for lack of a better term, So we brought some awesome, star-studded professionals out here today to be able to bring forth to the table. So we actually got 3 star-studded people today that we're bringing on today. And we're going to bring them on one by one, and we're going to let this thing go down in an orderly fashion. Are you ready, Ms. Verna?
I am. And so without any further ado, we're going to keep y'all here long. I'm going to bring to the spotlight our first guest, Miss Gail Andrews.
Hi, Miss Verna. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Miss Andrews, I asked you, and it was like a last minute kind of thing, and I said, would you do this for me? Because in one of the other platforms that we are on, you are spotlighted as one of the person who has retired and was able to you are a former employee of something, so you have that time freedom now. So I thought that you were one of those epitome of what we this topic today, which is time freedom and financial freedom. So can you give us a little background, a little of your background?
Absolutely. So first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me to hang out with you guys. I think you all are the special guests. I'm very well aware of the successes that you all have had as a group. And so, yeah, I just thank you for even having this platform to share financial literacy. You know, one of the things that I've done is I've named myself the Financial Harriet Tubman because financial literacy is like really, really important to me. And I haven't always had financial freedom. And, you know, I remember, but I've always been like really studious with my finances, meaning I would make sure all my bills were paid before I went and splurged at McDonald's or whatever. I started working really young when I was like 18 years old. I've worked for actually I was 17. I started working for IRS when I was 17 years old, and I worked there for 40 years. And I finally retired in 2020 during COVID. I had planned on, so of course I've seen a lot of transition with the work world, working in the government, but by 2020, people were allowed to work at home, which was absolutely amazing. So I was like, well, I'm never going to retire, because if I can just work at home and keep working, because I mean, you know, truth is, are you really working 8 hours a day? You know, you can get your work done sooner. But anyway, so I planned to retire in like maybe 2025 or 2026. I hadn't really decided, but because I did like what I did. But because I got involved with our company where we could make passive income, it just didn't make any sense, because I could retire in 2020 during COVID, and I have to, you know, go back and subject myself to what could have been, you know, germs and all of that, without losing any income, because the passive income kind of made up for what I would have lost in retiring. So that was a bonus for me that I was able to do that. But yeah, so my naming myself the Financial Harriet Tubman was more around seeing people who struggle all of their lives, work all of their lives, and are not really open to looking at anything differently, and ending up doing what, am I hearing some reverb, some feedback? Am I good? You guys hear that?
Yes, I hear.
Okay, I unmuted myself. I think we're good now.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, Harriet Tubman's quote, you know, I'm gonna throw a number out there because I don't know this quote by heart, but I'll just say 1,000 slaves, but I could have freed so many more if they only knew they were slaves. So what we do, and I think Brian made this point, is we kind of get in this rat race and we just continue going through life doing what we were told to do, because you can only, you know, if you don't have the information, you don't know what you don't know. And so we work, we go to school, we work, and we just keep doing that, paying bills, living paycheck to paycheck until we don't. We retire, and we probably, and maybe don't have enough to do anything else. And we either get another job or we just stay in that state until we pass on. And so for me, I just wanted to change that narrative. And so as Financial Harriet Tubman, I'm going back and I'm sharing financial literacy with as many people as who will hear, and, you know, hopefully to change the trajectory of their output. So yeah, that was a really long way of me saying that I worked for IRS for 40 years. I'm now financially free, and I'm going back to save as many people as I can.
Well, I thank you for that. And we're going to get into some more when it comes down to how you got that done. But we're going to go ahead and bring our next guest up, which is Mr. Derek Ray. We're going to bring him to the spotlight. Mr. Ray.
Hey, I'm off you, right?
Yes.
Wow. I was loving Gail's testimony on how she basically got started. So that's a good thing. Ooh, 40 years. Wow. So yeah, see, so her path, I loved it, kind of like I would like equate it to mine, but same as me. Those who don't know me, my name is Derek Ray. I'm retired Army, did 30 years in the Army, and I reside in the Augusta area. But I started too, like say about the financial freedom. There was none of that in my head. So I started in the Army, like say, as soon after high school, I basically joined the Army at 18. And so 18, what was that, 1985 to 2016. So that's kind of like the career of my Army path. And so when I put it all together, when I was thinking, I always grew up knowing money. I was always taught, even when I was 7 or 8, I kind of knew money. It's just where I grew up at. I grew up in Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Just kind of like where I was at, it really wasn't taught educational wise. It wasn't even kind of taught community wise. It was always, hey man, you got money, you don't got money. And so, but me somehow, I kind of stood myself out from a lot by playing around with money, even at a young age at the time. I had a bank account. I had a savings account, at 7 and 8. And it started off when I was in church, when it's talking about Christmas savings and stuff like that. And that just kind of got contagious to me, because the more I saved, the more it grew back then. That was even in a bank. So to me, that was impressive, just having a bank account. And so as I got into the teens, I always wanted to do something else with money, but I was so constricted, is basically where I was at. So those who ain't been through Bowling Green, Kentucky, like say, it's a beautiful community. It's a beautiful area. It's just not enough things to where we can have access to excel out from the state. It was a little country. Like I say, everything shut down at a certain time, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's over, lights out. So ain't nothing else going on. So my focus was, I need to get out the state. That was the only biggest deal as growing up. So got out of the state. Only way I could get out was me seeing at the time in the mid 80s, was joining the Army. And so when I said join the Army, that's when I was almost international. So once I got a taste of basically traveling, my first duty station was in Germany. I loved it. Once I was in Germany, I had an officer that made me read books about money. So that's when I really took another love at another level. He made me read books. So those who don't know enough familiar with the military, back in the 70s, 80s, as we come up, discipline was tight. It's like, you do what I say and move out, no questions asked. And so with me coming from, being new to the military, I read the books that he gave me, how money works. Don't ask me to quote the books, because it was just basically, I read them and got rid of them, because he said, don't stay here and hold one book, because I got many more to give you. Once I read those books that he made me read, then he showed me how to do a lot of other things like stock. So y'all know Hewlett Packard, right? Back in the day.
Yes.
Computers was getting started back in the day, right? And software, Microsoft, all that was starting to germ about back in the day. So he was showing me how money works, and he showed me how to invest in the right things. And so that right there kicked off my really financial freedom. But I was still in the military, but he showed me how to take advantage of the military and make the money at the same time, because he guaranteed I could be a millionaire in 20 years as I retired. He said, guaranteed. He said, if you do what I say and do what I show you, it's all legal. And he said, I will show you. So I follow those steps. But we'll get back to that later. I ain't trying to make it a long story, but we'll pause it right there. That was the beginning of my financial freedom. Like I say, I share the secret personally to people or friends who ask and knows me. Those who don't ask, I won't share it. Gail, I'll be the one working in the yard. You'll never know. So, but that's always been me, because my humble beginnings came from my parents. My dad worked hard, mom worked hard. Don't never show what you got. Just because you work hard, people can always think you're richer than them anyway. So I always kept that humble feeling of that as well. So anyway, military, made it up to the highest ranks of sergeant major. Those who don't know, that's E9. You can Google it, look at the pay scale of military. So it's all the same. made it to the top of the enlisted rank of that. Money, it never been an issue for me. Just letting you know, I didn't grow up poor. I didn't grow up not having. I don't know what it means, what it feels, because I did what everybody I think should be doing is listen. If you got good people around you and they're telling you to do something, just listen. That's where I was. I was a great listener. And so that listening ability got me to the right places at the right time, because I wasn't the one that was doing what many others was doing. So I don't know what else you need me to say or do after that. We got a lot to talk about. I didn't mean to be long on it, but I just want to give everybody who's watching that, hey, my background is Army. My background is military. Hey, my background is discipline. My background is I'm always rocking with a group of people that's doing good things. If you're doing something bad, I'm not with you. So yeah, Ms. B. So I don't know what else to tell you on that one. It's a lot I can say, but I don't want to take up too much time, because I know we got a lot of other great people that needs to share the mic too. So
yes, sir. We thank you for that, and we thank you for your service. And we're gonna go ahead and bring our third guest up, Mr. Woods. Do you want to bring him, introduce his and bring his name up for us?
Hey, so, hey, man, I got a proud honor, man, of actually being able to introduce this guy, man. Hey, he just happened to be one of my mentors, man. I met him a couple of years ago, but I tell you what, man, it was a couple of words that he said a couple of years ago that sparked my interest. Like, hey, I want to know what this guy knows. And I want to bring Noah to the stage then. Charles, the Waymaker. Ivory, hey, are you in the building, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Brian?
And how you doing, man?
Funny.
Hi,
Hey, I'm
Mr.
doing better
Hi,
than
Mr.
me.
Ivory.
You know me. So, hey,
So what we want you to do right now for us is just give us a little background of your background, and before we get into where you are now.
okay, so how far you want me to go back? I heard Derek talk about, his childhood.
As far
and
back
stuff
as
like
you
that.
want to go, to let the people know where you came from, and now where you're at. So it isn't like, oh, I was always here.
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely not always here. I did grow up with humble beginnings. Mother worked hard, father worked hard, so I understood hard work. Matter of fact, I started working at the age of 12. I've been working at the age of 12 and getting fired because I didn't have my birth certificate. I was sneaking in on jobs and stuff. You know how they'll hire you for a couple of weeks and say, make sure you bring this in, make sure you bring this in. When you never bring it in, they let you go. So, but growing up was a little difficult for me and my family. We didn't always have ends meet. We struggled financially, and that was one of the reasons why I had to get a job. But there was one thing that my mother did for me that I really appreciate, that kind of molded me into the person that I am today. Even though we didn't have a lot and she couldn't provide as well as she wanted to, she says, hey, if you can go out there and make the money, you can do whatever you want to do with your money. So if you want the clothes that other kids have and you can pay for it, then you pay for it. If you want whatever you want, if you work hard for it and you earn the income, you'll get it. So she never stopped me from spending my money. So that gave me a incentive to go out there and work and make money, because I wanted to keep up with the other kids. I joined the military. I had a football scholarship, but it was a partial scholarship, and I couldn't even afford to go to college on a partial scholarship. So I did the next best thing and joined the military, because I come from a military family background, and thinking that, if I put in 20 years, I can retire and live a different life, So I went in the military like the next month after I graduated. And I enjoyed every minute of it because it allowed me to provide for my family. I left home and I was giving every check I had to my mother, to try to help her out. And it gave me a sense of pride to do so. But as I was thinking about what Derek was saying in the military, and Derek said it went all the way to the 70s and the 80s. I didn't know he was that old, but I came in 1988. But the officers and the enlisted was different. You know, they would teach the officers finances, but they didn't teach the enlisted. You know, the enlisted was the backbone of the Army. We was the one that made things happen. But they always taught the officers how to invest and do things like that. And just like Derek, I had someone reach out to me and said that, hey, you got to start investing. So I started with a company called First Command. They gave me that little three-legged monster. They say you need to have an investment, you got to have a savings, and you got to have some insurance. That's a three-legged monster that you should have. And so I started investing. But I didn't know how to invest. So my rate of returns wasn't as good as it should have been, but it got me started. What really got me focused on finances was I did 24 years in the military. I didn't make it as high as Derek did. I was a first sergeant though, but after 24 years of being in the military, once I retired, life hit me in the face, you know, because I got to a point where I was living a decent life. I was comfortable. I was able to do what I wanted to do, but I was still living paycheck to paycheck at the same time. But once I retired, at least changed careers. But once I got out of the military, they cut half my pay. I didn't have all the additional income that came with being in the military. So I was forced to change careers and became a VA benefit advisor. And then what really kickstarted was a message that I gotten from church. And right after I heard that message, an opportunity came right behind it. So it was like God had sent me a message through my pastor and then gave me confirmation through an opportunity. And then I just started seeing money differently from that point, because I had a group of people that was better financially stable than I was, pour into me and show me some different things. And now we got this other company now that we're all a part of, MWR Financial, and they just made everything simple because the experts do all the work. So I didn't have to know a lot. I knew the basics of what I should do, but didn't know really how to do it. So we talk about education, but implementation as well. I didn't know how to put what I was reading into practice. But when I came to MWR Financial, man, they had such a blueprint to follow. And being in the military, that's one thing I knew how to do was follow instructions, because I think some of the best leaders are great followers. So my mentor, Brian, he made it easy. He made it simple. Follow instructions and these things shall happen. MWR Financial, they made it simple. They made it easy. Hey, get the expert to do it and you'll see the results. And that's how I got to where I am now, just simply listening. And I heard Derek said that too, just listening and being disciplined and be able to follow instructions. And now I'm here and money is no longer an issue for me.
Thank you for that great introduction to where you started at. And I heard you say that when you retired, you just switched careers. And so that was one of my questions. At what point in your time did you realize that retirement wasn't enough? And that question will go out to any one of you guys. If you feel like when you retired that wasn't enough, it wasn't there, or it wasn't what retirement was cracked up to be. So if any of you could expound on that, and I know some of you may have just retired and were already set, so that's up to you. Just give me your thing on what happened to you once you retired.
Well, I tell you, for me, it hit hard when I got about 16 years in the military. My plan was to retire in 20. You know, I said, I'm gonna give them 20 years and I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna live an abundant life. But about 16 years in the military, I started working towards my retirement, like getting my bills down, trying to lower my debt so I wouldn't have that financial burden when I got out. Well, when 20 years came, I was nowhere ready to retire. That's why I did an additional 4 years. My plan was to get out in 20, but I had to do an additional 4 more years to get myself in position to retire. And when I had 20 years in the military, I knew then that I was going to retire from the military, but I wasn't going to retire from the workforce. I knew that I was going to be forced to get out there and do something else. You know, coming in the military, I just thought, hey, 20 years, retire, never work another day in my life. I thought it was a good deal. You know, you got to work anyway. But that's not the reality. But here's what I did learn, Verna, and this is why I try to educate the young service members today. You know, I got to always watch my speech because I'm used to saying soldiers, but I'm talking about everybody. So I'm going to say service members if they're.
We are here in this area in great old southern Georgia where we don't always have the great internet. So Mr. Ivory may have cut off for a little bit. So Mr. Ray or Miss Andrews, if you would like to go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and we'll give the floor back to Charles when his Wi-Fi is a little better. So yeah, for me, a lot like Charles mentioned, his parents worked really hard. My mom, so I was raised by a single parent, and my mom worked really hard. So although we didn't have a lot of money, I was a little oblivious to that because my mother always had 2 jobs. She had 2 jobs and she was going to schools because she, you know, wanted to better or make her be better than she was without it. And so that was one thing I knew I didn't want to do. I didn't want to work all of my life and then retire and get another job. So I, just like everybody else, had my mindset that I was going to do something differently. And when I was introduced to the same organization, you know, we're all in the same organization, is when I was also introduced to personal development. And so that helped me a lot. I fell in love with that. And that's when I started the whole trek of the financial literacy, wanting to give back. And I, fortunately, because I started working so long ago, our retirement plan was a little different. So I was under the old civil service retirement plan, which once you retire, you get 80% of your regular salary. So I would still be making 6 figures in retirement, but I had become accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and I didn't want to lose that in retirement. So I knew I had to supplement my income. And so that is another reason I wanted to get involved with this company and make some passive income so that I could continue living the lifestyle that I wanted to live. So that was my story as to when I decided that my retirement wouldn't be enough, because I didn't want to go backward at any point. I always wanted to be better than I was the year before. And so being with Make Wealth Real, as Charles mentioned, allowed me to do that.
Thank you for that. Mr. Ray?
Yes. For me, when I joined the military, and when I was introduced to money, like say in the late, 87, 88. So right at 88, that was my mindset to where I planned on staying in the Army 20 years. So based off the information I got, 20 years was my target, where I was going to get out, retire, and have to work for nothing. But everything was going great. So as the years went by in the military, when I got close to like 18, 19 years, I was making promotions like back to back. You know, for those who service members know, I was going from E6 to E7, E7 to E8. It was like every 2 years I was getting promoted. And so by 20 years, I did an evaluation of, do I really want to retire and get out and just do whatever? But at the time, I didn't want to get out because I love what I was doing. So that was the biggest part. I was so used to it most of my life of doing what I was doing. It was like, what else could I do other than, and our thoughts is to be out with other civilians and just do whatever. Because I always thought a lot of civilians get in trouble, but they have more freedom. But my discipline from 18, that's all I knew was military life. And so being in higher positions at the time when I hit 20, I got promoted later on as a sergeant major, one of the highest. I didn't really think about retiring because I was working around other generals of the armies by then. And so other generals that's having conversations, just like, this is what we're going to do until we die. You know, so that was the mindset. So I went ahead and kicked it in, stayed another 10 more years, which was 30 years. Now, when I retired, as I was equated to a runner, you know, if you've been running that long for years after years, you just can't retire and just stop. So I kept running. So I went and did a contracting job with the military, which is U.S. Army Cyber Command here at Fort Gordon area. So I worked as a contractor with the cyber folks for at least 2 years, from 2018 to 2020. And so that was me, just kept running because I knew nothing else. Because if I said I don't know nothing else, that's what I was just used to doing. And so all my friends, all my colleagues, people I knew was basically transitioning from military jobs going into the civilian jobs, which was contracting or government service jobs we call GS. So that was just a natural transition for me just to be doing something, you know. But when I first retired, though, between that 2016 and 2018, I did nothing. I didn't do nothing. And as was recommended, do nothing, get your mindset right to transition. But I got bored. That was the biggest thing. That's why I see some of my friends where I'll volunteer to go help do something at their homes or something. I'm bored. I just had a lot of time on my hands. It's just like, man, so you want that same feeling. But during the time of being active in the Army and transitioning, same as Mr. Charles, I was introduced to the company. Now, I'm the kind of guy that was making a lot of money, 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 had a lot of money just stashed and stacked, but I didn't have the development of learning how to use it to where it started working for me. I knew investment, but I really wasn't setting it up to where money was just working for me. I just knew when it was time for me to go pass away, then my family's gonna be okay. That just my whole mindset was, because service members in the military, you basically got to think about every day, if I don't make it, who's going to be left behind? Because they got to tell you, fill out this paperwork, which is called your DD-214, not DD-214s, what your life insurance SGLI. So that's kind of how we think, where, hey, we're going to do it today, doing tomorrow. But however, before I confuse everybody, when I transitioned into that, I just basically learned with this company, which was MWR Financial, when I was introduced to that, and then working with a group of people, that's what got me. It's basically, I was looking to work with people that collaborated with the same mindset, that was doing the things that I wanted to do. Make money, have fun, and then learn what to do with the money so you can have money working for you. That's the biggest key element that I was missing, learning how to have money working for you, to where I'm not losing money, you know, because I was still paying high taxes too. So after joining the MWR and being introduced to it, then now I have a better sense of comfortability. I said, y'all already got money. Money was good, wasn't the problem. I'm more comfortable now. I can still live and enjoy and see it go through. Now I can guide it to do the things I need to do. Just like I said yesterday, I had family and friends over. And me and my son-in-law was talking, you know, we always talking about money, and he always showed me, here's my investments, here's what's been going on. I done lost about a couple $100,000, I gained this much. That's the conversations me and him have sometimes once in a while, because I know him and pretty much has met his parents too. So it circulates and the conversation is always there. But I want to be in this and around this to where I'm teaching and showing others who knew me for the last 20, 30 years. See, and I do know a lot of people, just like we all do, is that, man, if they'll just listen, I can help them now, because a lot of others think it's too late to get started on anything. So that's kind of what's keeping me driving me now, is that I'm just gonna keep leading by example. I'm keep on showing my face in places where people be surprised that I'm there, because they're like, you don't need to be here. Why you here? Stuff like that. So it just yeah, thank you for it. It just, that's what's keeping it going. I was introduced to the company. I love what it does, and it gave me really the mentality to say to my boss is, see ya. I don't want to be here. I don't need to be here. I got to go. It wasn't no take a deep breath and die, as in what I was going to do next. It was just, when I fired my boss, which is in 2020, I didn't know how to quit. That was just my bad thing. I never knew how to quit nothing I started. So that was the hardest thing for me to do, because once I realized I'm not on contract, I'm not in the Army no more, I can't quit. And so, not to be all over the place, what made me really fire my boss and quit is that I was really good at what I do. I'm usually good at everything that I set my mind to it. So that's just been something easy to me. I was that good, Miss Gail, to the point. I'm looking at Miss Gail as I see. I was really that good to where they were sending me on places that I was working weekends and holidays. That's what got me. It was like every weekend or every holiday where I'm thinking I'm about to make plans, about to go vacation somewhere, but now Mr. Ray, we need you in Miami. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna be working, something like that. Or I need you in Las Vegas or even LA, but you're gonna be working. So when you're in work mode, you really can't have fun. And that's always been my thing. Once I retire, on the calendar, if it ain't got nothing to do with fun, then I'm not part of it. So it's got to be fun, just for me. And everybody has their ways of having fun, but just like right now, this is fun. Just talking to you all, talking to the family. But thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you for that. Mr. Ivory, you got cut off because we're here in this great old South Georgia, where we don't always have the best internet. So we're going to give you back the floor to finish what you started. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's a shame, Verna. I have all this money, but I can't buy bandwidth. So I got to move to a whole different house, right? So hopefully I can get rid of this internet issue that I have. It's frustrating, especially in this line of business when I have to depend on the internet, so, but remind me of what we was talking about. I know you was talking about retirement. Yes. About me retiring. Yeah, the light came on and I retired. Realizing that I had to switch careers because my lifestyle that I developed while I was in the military, the retirement alone was not enough to keep up with it. So I was actually forced to go out in the workforce. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity. And this, the most frustrating part is that there are so many people with my story that I want to go out and help and let them know, but people are not ready to take the opportunity. So I'm really thankful that I was smart enough to see an opportunity and jump on it. Matter of fact, me and Derek, we heard about this opportunity together at the exact same time. And it's good to partner up with people with like minds, because Derek and I was trying to figure out who's going first, so immediately after we heard the opportunity, matter of fact, I think our mind was made up before the presentation was even over. But everybody's not ready, but everybody can do this, and I love the direction that we're going, because now I think everybody can probably understand the concept of promoting. I love that, promoting this opportunity. So whatever your financial struggles is, now I can just show you that there is a solution to your problem, and I'm gonna promote this company to handle your issue. I love that.
Okay. Mr. Woods, did you have any questions for our guests as we go forward? Seems like this seemed like the opportunity that each one of us are talking about so far has given you guys the platform or the step to be able to get where you are now. Not saying that you weren't there or you weren't on that path, but would you say that the knowledge that you gained was why you have what you have? Because at some point in your career or in your life, there was something that was missing that wasn't going to have you where you are financially free. So you consider yourself financially free? And do you consider yourself time free? Do you all consider that now?
Well, I consider myself financially free and time free, but I want to live that Gail life, you know. I want to live that life Gail had because she's traveling all over the world. So
Miss
Well,
Gail,
Charles, okay, I will give you the travel life if you give me the compound life. I'm just saying. Charles and Cookie and Derek, these guys are just like, you know, people that you aspire, that you look up to, that you aspire to be. You guys are rocking and rolling. But yeah, to answer your question, for me, I do feel like I have time and financial freedom because you like don't know what you don't know. And so you have options now. And to Charles's point, like I would have never thought that I would be sitting around with my friends, just chit-chatting. And so these are friends that are in this community, in this Make Wealth Real business. And we're just talking. And one of our friends was taking her son to Egypt for spring break. And within like 10 minutes of the conversation, we all decide, okay, well, we're going to go too. A couple of days later, we're on a plane. We're going to Egypt, just hanging out and having fun, to Derek's point. And those are just some of the freedom options that you have when you are in a group of people where, for me, like Charles, I was offered a scholarship in high school in math. It was a full scholarship, but because I had already started working, you know, in the hood, everybody didn't have the option of having a job. So I turned down the scholarship and I kept the money, but why was I even making that point? I don't know. But yeah, so we ended up in Egypt and we were able to make that trip. So time freedom and money freedom, absolutely. I feel like that is now available to me because of Make Wealth Real. So yeah, maybe that thought will come back and I'll bring it back up. But yeah, so to answer your question, I absolutely do feel like I have time and money freedom.
what's the matter? Y'all couldn't call nobody, left me and Derek here. We got freedom.
It was so last minute, Charles, you know. That's crazy.
But I look at you guys because because the platform we're on, we get to speak to each other. We get to hear you guys' stories all the time. So I get to hear the fact that you are free and you have taken that system that they put in place that is available to everybody, but everybody has to want it. And they want to implement it. So when you sit here, it had a point in my life, I thought I was free. At least I thought I had time freedom in a sense, because I work for myself from 2012 to about 2019, and then reality sit in and hit me. I wasn't free because the money I was making, it was made by my labor. And anytime I took the time off to go somewhere, even though I was in control of my own time, I can go anywhere I want to, when I want to, the money wasn't rolling in when I was gone. because I did hair. I was a hairdresser. So if I wasn't going where I was going to do some hair, that means I wasn't making any money. So I went backwards and I went back into the workforce because I thought I needed that to give me retirement money or play for me to grow some retirement. But I wish I had met this platform before I actually made that choice, because then I would have been able to do with the money I was making with my labor to put that money into making more money for me. So I get the time freedom, because that's what I regret, because now that I'm on a job, I have to ask for the time off. I get that. So I was like, I can't wait to get back to where I don't have to ask nobody when I can be off. But I also need my money to go out there and make some decisions and bring me back some more money, where if I do take the time off, the money is still being made. So I get that. And did you guys see this now? Because y'all have that freedom. How does that feel?
Oh man. How much more time we got on that one? It's I can compare it in so many ways. The feeling is just it's like I would say tomorrow. See, when everybody's just, I purposely, like on Mondays when everybody's going to work, I'm traveling somewhere. And I do it on purpose because I can. And that's kind of like the freedom of choices I have that I've made for myself, to where I can get on the plane and rock and roll, or I can get on the road and just drive on whatever on interstate and just rock with it. But it's an undescribable feeling of really being free. Now, if you was in the military as service member, you know, we use a different word of being free. It's like free from the military, because you can do what you want to do without being in contact with units and stuff. You gotta explain where you're going, or if you got certain levels of clearances, you gotta be debugged when you get back to basically say where you've been, why you're in different country, who did you talk to over there. I mean, you got to go through all that too. It was just too much, you know. It depends on what level you at. You got 2 or 3 cell phones at the time. Then you got other ways of where you got to be in contact. It was just a lot of that you had to let go. So when you let all that go, and then I can just take off down to Florida and like, I ain't got to tell nobody, and I ain't got to explain why I was down there. And when I come back, you know, it's just, that's the kind of little freedoms that I have of that mind. Because I used to joke around and, you know, and say, hey, it feels like if you was kind of in prison, because someone's always telling you what to do, when to sleep, where to eat, and all that good stuff. But yes, we got paid, but you really can't do what you want to with it, because if you seem like you're making too much money in the military, you are required to be investigated to make sure you're not doing anything illegal. And that's kind of like them written military bylaws that gives a commander access to do that, just to make sure that you're on the up and up. So it's just, when you get rid of all that, and those who I joke with, hey, I ain't got to go on the UCMJ no more, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I ain't got to live on those type of rules no more. That's freedom to me. You know what I mean? Going in different countries, since I've been in different countries, I don't really have the thrill to go because I've seen the worst of different countries where I've been, and I see the freedom that they don't have. And so me, as long as I stay within these borders, I'm good, because I know out there it could be taken away quick. Just like I've read on some stories where people went to different countries and they said the wrong thing in the wrong place because they don't know their laws. See, now you ain't free again. You see what I mean? So it's just like I said, trying to describe it is like, you can't, you just have to join us and basically just go through the experience yourself, because there's no one word, 2 words, or a sentence that you can say free, because hey, it's like just being, you know, shackled up, being chained up to something that you love what you're doing, but you did it for so long, you forgot what fun feels like. So that's what me is. I forgot what fun feels like. So I got to get back to that. So that's what I do. You know, financial freedom, you just rock with it, roll with it. I was thinking what Miss Gail said about her scholarship, because I had a scholarship too back in my high school day, but based off the point she made me jar was the decisions we made then, not knowing it was going to set us up for this, but it was just it turned out to be a great decision. You will never know, but you just do it. So I'm glad I made a decision to join the military, because I got around a lot of people who are smart. You find a lot of smart people in the military, find a lot of talented people in the military, a lot of people that just made some mistakes that couldn't do nothing else on the outside, so they had to join the military. So just being around the right people at the right time, even though I probably worked in some of the lowest jobs in some areas, but being in the lowest or the hottest or the coldest situation, I learned to be around a lot of great people that just share information with me. Because some didn't make it up 30 years. Just let you know, some people that I work with didn't make it 30 years. They didn't do 20 years. They was in for 6 years, got out. Some were intelligent people, like should have been lawyers. Some were so skillful that it could have been playing NBA or NFL pro ball. But it was I just have to be around people that to say, hey, I can't take this military stuff, I'm going out to do this. But they always left me with stuff where it was always nuggets that I took back with me and just got better. So yeah, my whole dream was to retire and do nothing and be free. And so I dreamed it, I did it, I lived it. But the biggest key word, Ms. V, you had to survive. Now, if I wouldn't have made it, because we all probably had our turns and deployments, serving different wars. Now, if I wouldn't have made it, I know my kids would have been all right. That's it. That's all I have.
Ms. Gail, when I asked that question, your face light up. When I said, how does it feel to be free? You light up like, oh my gosh, you just don't know.
And those are the words I was going to say. You just don't know, freedom is very different for everyone. And I think that's one of the things that's so appealing. I love hearing everybody's stories because everybody's version of freedom is different. So for me, it was like the freedom to not only dream, because a lot of people dream all the time, but the freedom to actualize those dreams. So you can hear that I love to travel. So in September, I'm going to Australia, and that will be the end of my 7-country continent tour. So I will have been to all 7 continents as of September. And yeah, so I've always wanted to do that, but financial freedom and being surrounded with people of a like mind gives you the flexibility to actualize those dreams. So I give myself a lot of names. Another name that I've given myself is a vision board strategist, because I do a vision board every year and I just keep adding to it. But what I'm proud about most is that probably 95% of the things on my vision board have been checked off. It's like I'm doing all of this because, yeah, for me, that's freedom, being able to actualize the things that you actually dream about.
Wow. Wow. Mr. Ivory, how did you feel to be?
Well, freedom was a blessing for me. At the time I joined MWR Financial, I needed the freedom. I had a mother who was terminally ill with cancer at that time. And so freedom to me was to be able to travel to Texas 4 or 5 times a year with no return dates. That was freedom, because, in the military, we got 30 days, vacation, but, we always had to come back at a certain time. And to be able to, go to bed when you're tired and wake up when you're done sleeping and take vacations with no return dates, that was really freedom for me. And it gave me the opportunity to spend some quality time with my mother before she passed. So freedom, time freedom, and to be financially free to do that was a blessing. So to me, I always equate freedom with blessings. It's a blessing to be free and not bound to anything. And I'm about to get on this travel kick too, because everywhere that I traveled all over the world, I had a gun in my hand. So, you know, they say freedom isn't free, but, you know, I would like to go without a weapon, you know, to some of these countries and really see, you know, the other side of it, you know, outside of war. So, I mean, that's freedom to me is just blessings.
Well, Mr. Woods, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask any of our guests?
Hey, Miss Verna, hey, I was sitting here listening, man. Like, you know, I was at the movies, eating some popcorn, listening to all this awesome information that could help me take, you know, even what I got going into a whole nother realm. But the question that I have in closing, for everyone that's, you know, came out today to actually have this conversation is this: if there was a word of advice that you would give out to the young workforce, the young 18-year-old that's about to graduate from high school right now, the 18-year-old between the young 30-year-olds, because some people don't wake up till they're like 30 years old, what advice would you give to them to start now and for them to never look back on how they can get there sooner than faster by basically bridging the gap between what the workforce wants them to do versus them actually seeing the light of being financially free young and early in their life. That's the question I have for y'all. That's the closing question.
That's a great question, and that's a great closer for me.
That's a good question. I'm gonna start off because I know them other two probably gonna have some really good answers. So, just to keep it short on time, I think if my advice for a young person that's just getting started, pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Or I would say pay your tithes first and then pay yourself, which we give tithes. So give your tithes and pay yourself. So many, you know, so many people, and I was included, never tracked our money. We pay the bills and we do what we want to do with the money. And savings was the last thing that we did. So we wondered why we was always paycheck to paycheck and didn't have anything. So I would say, put yourself first. That would be my advice.
Great.
I love that. I'm going to hop in for the same reasons because Derek is going to drop some gems. But I'm right along with Charles to pay yourself first, and specifically to consider your future and not just live for today. Meaning you have to invest, start investing now, even if it's small. Start doing something now so that your future will look the way you want it to look. And to not get intimidated just by hearing that you need to start investing if you don't know anything about investing, because what I love about Make Wealth Real is that I don't have to be the expert, that there are companies in place, there are experts in place, there are certified professionals in place who they do know all of the information, and they're there to serve us. And so just get around a team of people, get you some experts, or get around in a community where you will get the help that you need to start now, paying yourself first or investing for your future.
Great.
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Ray?
Oh, man.
Mr. Ray, they took all the answers from you?
No, it was good. That was good information. I was taking notes on that one.
Me too.
I need to invest on it. So I need to go ahead and pay my tithe. But what I would give advice to the younger generation, I will ask them a question first, because their mindset is totally different than way mine would be. And so I would gotta ask them, what is it that you are planning to do for the rest of your life? So I will listen to see what their ideas are, what their intent is between the middle and the end of it. And so then I would know how to give advice to that young person or young people And I will really just tell them based off what they said, you got to get a mentor in whatever it is you need to do. If it's in money, or if it's in job, or even it's in college, it's whatever you're trying to pursue. You got to have a mentor or someone who's already been there, done that, and made all the mistakes, and you need to connect with them. Now, the mentor is not going to be forever. It's going to be for a short period of time. I had plenty of mentors throughout my path, and they came and go and came and go and came and go. Some I still keep in contact with. So my advice, get your mentor. If it's money that we always talking about, make sure the mentor at least has some receipts that they know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, because sometimes I don't hesitate to show my phone as in, okay, this is my bank account. This is my other account. So if you want something like this, then I can probably link you up to someone to be a mentor, depends on where their mindset is. So that's all. Just get your mentor, link up with it. And then if you don't know one, you don't have one, then you see people who's talking like we talking, like MWR and financial education, get with any one of us. And so we will basically put you with a group that we ain't gonna mentor you personally, but we got experts that'll help you along the way. And as long as you be a part of that, you'll be okay, good to go. So thank you.
I want to say thank you to these three guests. I admire you guys. I watch and listen to what you guys do, and you have me dreaming again. You have me thinking about the possibilities of where I'm at. And like you said, it doesn't matter when you start, it's to start. So I am considered to be in my later part, and I've started late. So I feel like I have to hurry up and do this. But like you said, there's some people, young people, if you're listening to this, start at a young age. Life hits us very fast, and we might think that we have this long stretch of life in front of us, but the time goes by very fast. And when you look up, there's a lot more road behind us than there is in front of us. So start at a young age. Like Mr. Ray said, get you a mentor. Like Mr. Ivory said, pay yourself first. And Ms. Gill said, invest in something. And all three of those things I wish I did, because some of those things I heard when I was younger, but I didn't let it sink in, and I didn't necessarily believe in it. And I said, you know what? I got time. No, you don't have time, because time isn't promised to any one of us. So go out there, pay yourself first, get yourself a good mentor who's going to show you what it is you have to do to get where you're going to go, and start investing in you. Investing in your future and investing in you. That is in your mindset, that's in your finances, and that is in your future. Mr. Wood, do you have anything you want to say to close us out? We want to thank not only our guests, but we also want to talk our speakers, but also our audience. We want to thank you guys for being here, listening to us. If you guys can also share this information, y'all are a great group of people. You took your time out to listen to us this afternoon. We will get back to you with our next segment and what that topic will be. So be looking out for the next roundtable, Cashflow Roundtable. And Mr. Woods, you can close us off.
Hey, I just want to say, hey, thanks for everybody coming on today. It was exciting actually watching and hearing the stories of people that already created generational wealth and stopped living paycheck to paycheck and got time freedom. Hey, like we always say in our awesome group is, hey, I'm gonna see you on the beaches of the world at the top. The bottom is way too crowded. See you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.